What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Paul. This is the Leeds Therapy. Thank you ever so much for stopping by. I really do appreciate it. I hope you're doing well. In today's video, what we're going to have a little discussion about is obviously this morning in The Athletic, Phil Hay had written a piece with regards to Parag and just in relation to a long interview that he gave to quite a few journalists. So, obviously, there was the statement that Parag came out with the other day, which was a very, very classy statement. Everything in terms of what he said, I agree with and thought was very, very good. So he touched on a few bases. So the first one that we get to is Farke's future. And we already know it's confirmed Farke's going to be here next year. He's probably going to be under a lot more scrutiny, but it's just, he is going to be here. He's going to be here next year, which isn't the worst thing for me. That stability is a key factor for me. So just looking at it, it says in here that his contract runs for another 3 years, and the club's performance in his first season, in the eyes of Marath and the 49ers group, ticked many boxes. 90 points in the regular campaign and a near miss in the playoff final. The board have also been, and this is key, they're sympathetic about how the machinations of last summer, fairly frantic takeover, leading to Farke's late arrival as manager and complications in the transfer market caused by both ownership wrangling and relegation, made his job more difficult. So that's obviously just touching on the fact, for whatever reason, the sale coming through for the actual club in the summer last year, Radrizzani made it probably as difficult as humanly possible. Probably down to the amount of money that he was going to lose on the deal. But yeah, that was clear for everybody. Parag confirmed yesterday that Farke will be staying on as manager. Daniel's been fantastic. I'm excited about working with him again. We set out to do this. We had a long-term plan, so that's speaking about with regards to this 2-year plan that they had originally in the first place. It's the not backup plan, but there was almost like two plans, if you like. So if they got up in the first season, fantastic. But the overall riding of it was the 2-year plan. I'm excited about working with him again. We set out to do this. We had a long-term plan, a long-term commitment, not just to me, to him, but him to me. We've got a lot of work to do, and we have to see our plan through. He's been tremendous with a steady hand and the right temperament. I'm excited about getting back at it with him. I feel confident about this season. So again, and we'll touch on it because it goes through in other situations, because now Parag has now had kind of like the full year, if you like, to take stock of the entire situation. And I think what it also confirms as well, that they were very much a silent partner last year in the Premiership. So they had no sway on anything, no control over what was done, over what was said, or decisions that were made, all of that kind of stuff. So it's interesting to see now that he's got to grips with the entire situation of being at the club and what's needed, how it needs to be done, etc., so on and so forth. It then moves on to player sales, and it's obviously this is to go through with regards to the P&S rules, everything that goes with that, and how it is apparently looking bad. Obviously, there was the Kevin Maguire tweet that went out yesterday, which was the storm in the teacup, but at the same time was very sensationalist and got people saying the wrong things at the wrong time and worrying about everything and worrying about player sales, all of that kind of stuff. I chatted about that in my video yesterday. So it's no surprise, and Parag's conceded this, that certain players have to be sold in the forthcoming transfer window to keep Leeds accounts in good order and avoid a P&S breach. So I think we're all pretty much resigned to the fact that Somerville and Nonto are the ones that want to go. I said as much yesterday that Nonto's put his head above the parapet. I think he wants to go back to Serie A. There's obviously clubs that are looking at Somerville. Chelsea are looking at Somerville, and also Liverpool are looking at Somerville as well. As much as we don't like Chelsea, there's some Chelsea fans that have actually said that he would walk straight into the Chelsea squad. One of the interesting things is that in terms of progressive runs forward, he's in the top 10 in Europe, Somerville. So it's not that he wouldn't walk into the team, he would. It's a shame that the last game of the season, he wasn't at his normal temperament and at his normal style and the way that he normally plays the game. I think that's the only disappointment everybody's got. Like I said, for me personally, he would go with my blessing. And I think we could probably look to get, for Nonto and Somerville, what do we think? Maybe 40 to 50 million for the pair of them together, potentially. 50 million being the top end, 30 million would be top end championship player price anyway. So, we'd be doing good to get that. And Nonto's going to be worth 10 to 15 million, I would have thought. potentially. I could be completely wrong, because when it comes to the finances side of stuff, I'm absolutely ludicrously bad. But Parag goes on to say that the reality of being in the Championship is that P&S plays a role. There will naturally need to be some trade-offs, but we have a really good team, and it's not just outs, it's ins as well, looking at scouting opportunities for us. We'll have to make some trade-offs because of P&S, but we have the investment commitment to do what we need to do. What that says to me is that we have money to spend and that we can spend it. And just circling back to points that I've made throughout this season, I still really feel like, because of that delay at the start of the season, Farke never really had the full squad that he wanted to have. Yes, he could have addressed that in January, or it could have been addressed in January, but January's always a notorious difficult time to buy players anyways, and it's always bad for us as a team, as Leeds United. It's just, one of those things. But I really stand by that point. And just in terms of the lateness of Farke getting into the team and then him being able to do what he wanted to do. We then obviously touch on the subject of Archie Gray, and Parag was pressed on his future. And it is funny because he's viewed as being more financial, worth more financially, than any other player at Ellen Road. I think that just goes on to what he can do and what his ceiling is, which I think is the sky's the limit. I've said it before and I'll say it again. He's a generational player for me. He's just signed, obviously, his improved contract running to 2028. The one slight worry, it doesn't include a release clause. I think the strong feeling is that there's no departure this summer to frustrate the club's fan base. Manchester City, Liverpool and Tottenham are among the teams to have overtures to Gray before he signed his first professional deal. And then Parag was asked if Gray would be off limits in this market. And what he says here is, it's a little too early to answer specific questions. I can't talk on specific players right now. If I can paint the big picture, there are certain things we need to do and we'll make sure we are fully compliant with P&S. There are certain trade-offs we have to make, Somerville, Nonto. We have to get to the drawing board to work out which moves we have to make. Obviously, Archie's a tremendous player, but every season brings change. I can't yet comment, but we'll see what happens. But he has admitted that fan sentiment could play a major role in decisions taken over the next few months. So I don't see Gray going this window. If he does, it would have to be for a huge amount of money. Think Bellingham to Borussia Dortmund. That would be an absolutely natural move for me if Gray was to make that. Not that I'm trying to offload the player. Just look at how good and how much it benefited Bellingham on that basis. So all good on that side of things. We then move to profit, but I calm down. I don't think he's going to be going this window. I do think he stays. Profitability and sustainability pressures. So our current financial year ends on the 30th of June. Parag was asked whether compliance with P&S for the 23-24 period would rely on Leeds rushing through certain sales before that date, a pressure some other English clubs are feeling. Pressure's probably the wrong word, he said. Are we going to do what we need to do to make sure we're compliant? Absolutely. But everything we have to do, we've been contemplating for almost a year now, recognising some of the trade-offs we have to make and when we have to make them. We're prepared to make the moves we have to make. So that just is him being open and honest. What I think is that in the background, the 49ers have been working probably quite diligently in terms of what we need to do and how we need to do it. So I've mentioned this before, the parachute payment, which comes into play soon. There's also the sale of Sinistera and Adams. That money's due to come through as well. So they've run a tight ship and they're not, using the company credit card to finance sales and everything. They are an astute investment company or an investment firm. And I'm pretty confident that we should be all right. And the trade-off is going to have to be people like Somerville and people like Nonto going, as I said. So it goes on to say, this article, that the parachute payments will decrease next season. So the 3-year loss limit they face in the Championship is also coming down from 83 million over a 3-year cycle to 61 million. And then, having narrowly missed out on promotion, Parag faced questions about how crucial it was for United to find a way back into the Premier League at the second time of asking, before financial woes became even steeper. And he goes on to say that every year is critical. This past season was critical. We almost got there. I'm more confident now because we have more time to execute our plan. This then goes back to what we've all been, or what a few of us have said, that at the start of the year, nothing was as it should have been because of how long it took for the sale to go through. Cheers, Rads. and then obviously appointing Daniel Farke, and then just the shit with all the loan players that wanted to leave. There was 8 players that wanted to go. 2 of them have now gone on permanent deals, so there's 6 that are left to go. So the loan players that have come back in, I think Rocker is trying to sort it out, and Harrison's trying to sort it out. That leaves us with 4 players that we need to get sorted out as well. I think Wober will go back to Gladbach. So yeah, we have more control over that situation now. So whereas before we were beholden to the players a lot more, we're not at this moment in time. So make sure this year's squad looks exactly how we want it to look. And I've touched on it with regards to the loanees and everything. So in terms of the exits, all that included, so Harrison to Everton, Aronson to Union Berlin, Rocker to Betis, Robin Koch to Frankfurt, and Wober to Borussia Mönchengladbach. The clauses meant that Leeds were powerless to block those exits and in no position to recoup meaningful transfer fees via permanent deals. Harrison is one player with the right to go out on loan again this summer, but that only one other loan clause remains active. Those clubs aside, the club will have significantly more control over outgoing business, which is quite good. So Parag goes on to say, fortunately, we don't have as many of those situations as we had last year. We also aren't in a race against time. And just again, to back up what I've been saying, at this point last year, we were still 12 days away from finalising the transaction to take over the club. And he's also said the chemistry in the squad is important, which players fit versus which don't. It was difficult last year having to deal with this, and it's not difficult anymore. We're not sitting back. As a passive club, I'm not willing to concede that there will or won't be a profit on certain players. So we're in a strong position for the next season moving forward. So transfer fees that are owed, obviously there's a 73 million due, and then there is the 116 million due overall. But the Sinisterra and Adams to Bournemouth fees are worth about 40 million combined. They're due to come in. You've seen a lot of numbers. The outbound transfer payments we have to make, they were already contemplated as we went about going through the takeover. It was reflected in the acquisition. We inherited a credit card bill, Radrazani, we had to take care of, and we made sure we have the investment to be covered on that. The second thing is that what's not in those numbers are some of the inbound numbers. The net is already a little bit lower. We have what we need to be competitive. And that just tells me we're being run as a decent squad, as a decent club, as a decent business, as a decent entity. Whereas before it was very fly by the seat of your pants. You had Orta doing all kinds of stupid shit. And then you've got Radrazani just going, yeah, stick it on the company credit card. We'll be absolutely fine. And obviously the 49ers are cleaning that up now. He then goes on to talk about the stadium plans as the final point of it. So just goes on to say the usual stuff about the fact that the ground is old, the capacity of 36,000, that the corporate facilities are well behind the times, which then has a knock-on effect on earning potential in comparison to other clubs. But the plans to create a venue that holds crowds of 50,000 plus have not reached the construction stage. Promotion would have restored Premier League income overnight, begging the question of whether major development of Ellen Road can process as hope. So Parag basically says here that they're still on the timeline to do that. It's been reported that nothing's going to happen until we get back to the Premier League. That's a little bit of a myth. So effectively, in the background, what they've already been doing is all the make-ready work that they have to do before they put the shovels into the ground. That part of it doesn't matter if they're in the Championship or in the Premier League. There's still work that needs to be done, and a significant investment comes with that to line up all the things that you need to do. So getting all your ducks in a row before that happens. And he said that we'd be doing that now anyways, and we're continuing down that path. And then he just caveats that by saying, if you ask me that a year from now, it might be a little bit more complicated because at that point I'd be ready with a shovel. But everything is greenlit as it would have in either case. So that kind of just speaks to, the 2-year plan. And it just shows me that, again, we are being astutely run as we should be. The next season is very, very, very important. You can't get away from that fact. We all know that. Farke's not on borrowed time by any stretch of the imagination, but he has to be showing it from the start. He's now got a proper summer. The club have now got a proper summer to move things forward and do everything that needs doing and to do it correctly at the same time as well. So hopefully that'll make sense. I think this is a really good statement from Parag. I think it's very, very good. It's open, it's honest, and it's an owner of a club or a man in charge of a club that does his stuff in the correct way, rather than drinking 4 bottles of red wine and then getting on Twitter to call people out. You probably won't hear from him again until something really key or really important happens. And that's the way that he should be, in the background, running things and just and making sure that the club is taking care of itself as it should be. And overall, I'm really happy with that. So nice little positive thing. Hopefully, I think, let me know what you think in the comment section down below. If you haven't done so already, subscribe to the channel, like the video, share the video, put comments in there. This is a bit of a long one than what I would normally do, but I thought it was good just to give kind of my reflection and what I think in terms of what this actually says. So yeah, that's going to do it for this one. Take care of each other. Yeah, I'll speak to you again soon. This doing a video every day thing is going to kill me. But thank you for stopping by. I appreciate your time. Take care.